Conroy and Shalaka with me, who is also there in the webinar. They'll be sharing their insights of the course that I take and the team that we are. Right. That's it. So, am I audible and the screen visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
So, the agenda of the webinar is what is IELTS, who owns it, the challenges, and how to overcome the challenges. Okay. So, the full form of IELTS is International English Language Testing System. Okay. Now, it is a standardized test, okay, to test the proficiency of non-native speakers. Now, what does this mean? Now, there are speakers of English language in the English-speaking countries, and India is a country where English is the official language. We also speak it, but we are not native speakers. Okay, our original language, languages are many, and English is not the original language that is origin in India. Okay, but there are, suppose you take UK, it originated in the European countries, and then it went to the US. People from the UK and Europe went to the Australian continent. So people who have originally migrated from Europe have made English as their, they are called as the native speakers of the English language. Okay. Now, why is this standardized? Because in every country, English is spoken differently. Even in the US and the UK, even the people have migrated from UK to US, but the English, there is a difference between the way they speak. Even the Australian English is different. So all this put together, they have standardized the test, okay, the rules, the way it is to be spoken, read, and the grammar, everything has been standardized, okay. Now, who owns this? The British Council, IDP. IDP is from Australia, and Cambridge.
Jason,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Jason, the voice is not clear. So, can you just check out? It is little.
One second. How about now? Ravi sir, is it clear now?
Guys, everyone, it is clear? Sakshi?
Yes, sir.
Everyone? Now it is
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Okay, super cool.
Fine.
Yeah, you can start.
Thank you. So IELTS is combinedly owned by British Council, IDP, and Cambridge Assessment English. They are partners who run the IELTS. Now it is used to get into academic institutions in the European countries, Australia, okay, because they want to test whether you are able to speak, write, read, listen in English. Okay. The other standardized tests include TOEFL and PTE, which are TOEFL is used for Canada and US. PTE is also used for Australia again, but PTE is far simpler than IELTS. Now, the scoring in IELTS is done from the range of 0 to 9. Now, 0 indicates an absolute beginner, and 9 indicates a high level of proficiency. If you get around 8 to 9, you are a highly skilled user of the English language in all the 4 domains. Okay, all the 4 domains means reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Now, there are 2 versions to the IELTS exam. One is the academic and the general. The academic version is of a higher difficulty level. Why is this so? Because you have to comprehend, understand scientific books or maybe management books. So the level they have kept is a little higher. And if you take the general is for immigration purposes. Now there is something called as UKVI. So that is for specifically for getting into immigrating to UK. So, like I said, I was always saying that there are 4 sections of the IELTS: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So, what are the examiners looking for in the IELTS exam? Okay, if you are able to understand what you are listening, are you able to read the given test, write and express what you want to say in standardized English? So, if you want, you can just read this very carefully. It's just a medium of communication. You should be able to communicate through all these 4 ways. Okay, let's start with listening. I'll tell you something. Baby, if you take a baby for instance, the baby starts listening first. Okay, so there's nothing to do with the order in which you do this, reading, listening, speaking, etc. But I was just introducing you to the topic of listening. So here in this section listening, you have 40 minutes, okay, of the exam, and you have 4 recordings with breaks in between. Okay, and the level of difficulty increases as each recording passes. So if you listen to recording 1, it will be plain simple fill in the blanks. Okay, and once you finish that, the level of difficulty increases. I'll explain later how the level of difficulty increases. Okay, you are only allowed to listen to it once. The recording, you are only allowed to listen to it once. There is no forward, there's no reverse button. So whatever you're listening, you have to do, listen and answer it there and then itself. You have to have a paper and pen in hand, make a note of the answers, and if you want, you can write it directly on the answer sheet, or you will be given time to mark it in the answer sheet. Okay? But if you do enough practice, you will be able to directly mark in the answer sheet. Now, accent of a native speaker. The recording that you listen to is in the UK or Australian accent. Now, people watching English movies, even American movies won't do, because if you see the accent, there's a difference. Now, what will happen is you have to get used to the UK accent, which is a little tough, and Australian accent, which is a little different. So, what you need to do is start watching English, British movies, Australian movies. Okay, so the challenges lie in the accent. The other challenge you will face is vocabulary. Okay, I'll give you an example in vocabulary itself. Now, in the recording, you will listen. Let's take for an example. There are 2 sentences in the screen that I've shown you in the top. I went to the market where I met Tom and his sister. And the second is I am back from the market. I met the dash of them. So here the conversation, the recording that will be between 2 people. Okay. Now these 2 people must have been talking about Tom and his sister. But in the answer sheet, you will be given, I am back from the market. I met the dash of them. So here the answer is 2 of them. Now you don't have to write Tom and his sister, because it won't be grammatically correct, and it means the same if you listen to the complete recording and the context. The context is very important. So as the recording is going on, you have to understand every sentence they're speaking, the connection between first sentence and the second sentence, second and the third sentence. It's just like listening to a radio news. Okay, if you listen to BBC News, it's well and good. So that's one tip I can give you. If you start listening to BBC news channels and especially the radio, your listening skills will dramatically increase. So yeah. So that's about listening. Okay. So the context here, if you follow the connection, you will be able to make a note in your mind. Okay, he was speaking about Tom and his sister, so there were only two of them. So you will write down two of them. Okay, that's how it goes about. We'll move on to reading. Now in reading, again, in academic and general versions of the exam, there are 3 tasks. Like you must have seen this comprehension questions in your school days. You are given a passage and you are given a question, and then you write down the answers to it. It may be one sentence answers or multiple choice answers. But here you're given 3 passages, that is 3 tasks. It can be of the increasing level or of the same level of difficulty. Okay, the time is for 60 minutes. Now it can be a multiple choice, the first 10 questions. Then it could be the next 10 questions could be short answers, match the following, true or false, so on and so forth. So the format, in one passage itself, you may have 2 types of question, match the following and true or false, or even more than that format. Okay, so the awareness of the format of the reading questions is very important. Okay, but there's a catch to this. I'll tell you. You can always expect a new format of a question in the exam. And the only way to tackle this is using logic, common sense, and understanding of the meaning of the words. That is good vocabulary. Okay. So if there is a new format of a question, you have to apply your common sense. That's it. There's nothing more you can do. But if the format is known, okay, what you can do is, let's take for example, not given, true or false. See, you must have done this true or false question in your school days. Okay, so either the sentence is true or false. But there is a third criterion also in IELTS. Okay, like not given. Okay, so if you are given a statement in the question is either true, false, or not given. Okay, so how to tackle this question? We develop an algorithm. Okay, in the coaching that we do, we develop an algorithm. So first we find if the statement is given in the passage. So once if the statement is given in the passage, it has to be either true or false. Okay, suppose it's not given, then you choose the option in the answer sheet as not given. Now, if the sentence is like, a little vague, something of that sort is given, you're a little bit confused, it has to be either true or false. So depending on the passage, the context, and the question in hand, you have to choose between true or false. Let's move on to writing. The writing section has two passages to be written. Okay, the first one is of 150 words. The second one is of 250 words. Okay. Now you have to stick to. It's not a compulsory rule that you have to stick to 150 words or 250 words. It can be plus or minus 5 numbers here and there. Okay. But the major challenge that you face is, what if the question is out of your expertise? Okay. Now, if you don't know about the topic, what will you do? That is the question that will always come to your mind. So, either you speak from your personal experience. Suppose you know a one sentence about that thing, you can expand on it. Okay. Write as much as you know, what stories you can write about it, but there should be cohesion and coherence. Okay, I'll explain that a little later, what those two words mean, but you have to expand on the knowledge that you already have. So from 150, if it's a 150 question, write up to 150 words. If it's a 250, write up to 250 words. If you don't know anything about it, make sure the examiner understands that you don't know about it. I mean, you can also say, you can use beautiful words where you can say, I have never been through such a situation, but I can imagine it can be so and so, and you can still you can continue writing from there on. How it would be, you can write it from your imagination how it can be. For example, take Taj Mahal. Okay, how was your visit to Taj Mahal? Write a few words about it. Now, if you have not visited, you cannot write anything about it, but you can always recollect what others have told you. So you can start by saying, even though I have not visited Taj Mahal, I think it would be a huge monument. The people who stand in front of it and take pictures appear to be minuscule in size, so on and so forth. That's how you imagine and write. You have to use a lot of imagination if the topic is unknown. If you know about it, then the sky is the limit of the words you can use. Now let's move on to speaking, and this is the last section. Speaking has three parts. Okay, the first part consists, and it can last up to 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, the entire speaking section. The first part consists of introducing yourself. Second part, you are given a question or a topic to speak on. The third part, you are asked questions based on what you have spoken on in the second part. Okay. Now, here the challenge is, you will not be given the time that you have for writing, that you have, if you take, for instance, if you're given the same topic in writing, I'm starting from the second part, okay, second part of speaking. If you are given the topic in writing, you have time to pause, you have time to think, you can always edit what you have written, you have time to write down rough notes. Here, what you can do is, you can excuse yourself for 2 minutes, think about it, but once you start speaking, you cannot stop. And you don't have to go at a high speed. Okay. You have to be careful about your grammatical, you have to be grammatically correct. Okay. Then you have to link between the different sentences that you write. Suppose, for example, you're supposed to talk about a relationship. You may talk about a husband and wife. Then you go on and go on, you speaking, you end up talking about a scientific fact. If there is no relation between the scientific fact and the relationship, then there is a lack of coherence and cohesion. They check on this. People can talk on and on, but if it is not making sense, plainly put, if you are not making sense, then you lack communication skills in speaking. Okay. So with practice, with guidance, you will be able to speak. Now, the first part, when you introduce yourself, you need not give an interview to the examiner. You can be as casual as you want. You can talk about your family, your education, hobbies, and something something that comes out from your heart. Okay, but make sure that you are speaking grammatically correct, and there should be cohesion and coherence. And the third part is where you are asked questions based on the topic you had spoken upon. Now, we were talking about relationship. So now suppose the examiner asks, okay, you are, let's forget about relationship. You're given a topic on, let's say, for example, your hometown, okay? You speak about your hometown and you go on saying the positive things and so on and so forth. My hometown is like this. I love this place. There are good eateries there. You speak a lot about it. And then finally, the examiner asks you, what if you're asked to leave your hometown and stay somewhere else? Okay. You are at an utter confusion and you don't know what to speak. What do you do then? Speak about the positive side of that place. And if you're not, you can always say like this: wherever I go, I will try to make that place my hometown. Give it a positive ending. Okay. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. These are the challenges that you will face from my experience in IELTS exam. Okay. I'm open to questions.
Hello, sir. I am Ankit
Yeah.
Mamitra.
Yeah.
Sir, when we have to apply for abroad countries for admission, so
Right.
which exam version we have to attend? Either
Voice
academic.
is not clear, Ankit. Your voice is not clear.
Am I audible, sir? Now,
Yes, now it
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
sir, I am asking that for applying to college or universities in abroad countries, which form of the IELTS version we have to attend? Either
Academic.
academic or
Academic.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jason, just wanted to understand, as an Indian student,
Hmm.
there are many student, anyways, they take it the IELTS for the first time, the academics. So
Okay.
normally, I think reading and speaking, they find difficulty, right? So what are your thoughts and how exactly, in simpler terms, they can actually get it best in that actually?
Reading. Okay. Reading. See, the difficulty in reading is, you are able to, first you should understand what the passage is saying. Find out the main idea of the passage. Okay. Once you
Uh,
find out, I didn't get your questions.
yeah. So what I am saying is, normally as an Indian student, do not have any kind of habit in fast reading in the colleges, right? We are
Right.
not
Right.
in the colleges or not even the schools. It is only when it comes to IELTS exam or any reading comprehension, whether they are going for GRE or GMAT or CAT exam. That point of time, the fast reading of passages, completely abstract passages, right? Because that is what I have seen personally with many people or whoever is taking IELTS exam. Reading is the reading the passages or resolving the passages. So that creates a lot of tension, and because of tension, they mistake, right? So that
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah. So I would also say that, reading a number of books and so on and so forth will help you to a limit. But what you read and understand is what makes the difference. Okay. Now you are given a now a passage is made up of different sentences, right? So you have to understand the meaning of each sentence, connect it to the next sentence, and you have to get a picture in your head about the passage. Just like, for example, you are given a newspaper article. You read that article, you read the first sentence, then you read the second sentence. At the end of the article, you understand what the news is about. That is the main thing you have to understand about reading. Reading, you have to grasp or concise that. If you're able to concise, make it small, like paraphrasing, we call it paraphrasing. If you're able to make a 250 word passage into like one, like say for a 100 word passage, that means you have understood the passage and you can answer the questions that will come along. Okay. The second part is vocabulary. Vocabulary, even I don't know the entire dictionary, but I'm able to answer what is, the difficult words. Even if it's a new word, there is a way to crack it. Okay. So should I go on to tell what it is?
Yes,
How to?
definitely.
Yeah. So let's take the word misunderstanding. Okay. It's a very simple word. I'm using a simple word because everybody knows the meaning of that word. Now, it is made up of two parts. It has a prefix and it has the main root word, understanding. Now, ing also you can take it as suffix. Okay, to understand means to, you know, understand. Everybody knows what it is. So, if you split the word miss, understand, and ing, you you know the meaning of the word miss, you know the meaning of the word understand. Ing means it's in the present tense, present, the grammatical what it is. So you have to split the words into its root words. English is made up of number of European languages. Even Sanskrit is also involved. The word guru is also added in the English word dictionary. So you have to only mug up the root words of the English language, what the English language is made up of. Okay. Now, suppose you take Latin. Latin is also one of the languages that English is made up of. So, logy, okay, physiology or biology. Logy means to study. Bio means something to do with nature or plant, whatever, you know what it is. So, bio and logy. Now, if you're given a word anthropology, anthro is one word, ology is another word, logy is another word. So it's a study of something. So you get an idea of what the word is made up of. So that's how you tackle vocabulary. So what you need to do is, there's a book called The Logic of English Words. If you're able to get hold of that book, your vocabulary will dramatically increase and you don't have to mug up any word for that. Yeah, that's also.
There is another question that writing, how to improve into writing.
Okay. See,
Normally, as
now,
an Indian student, when we go to exam, we study one day before the exam. I
right,
think 90, 95, 98% people, and read one night before the exam, and then next day, early morning, 10 o'clock, exam, whatever is studied in the last moment, we will be writing, right? So
yes, yes,
how actually we can improve, or how actually we can score in writing actually? Yeah.
right.
Right.
So in exams, in the colleges or in schools, we are targeting, we are giving out information. Okay, we are marking some information and we are giving out that information. They are checking if you are able to replicate what you have read onto the paper. Transfer of one, it's just like copy paste. Okay. Now in IELTS, you are being checked for your communication skills. Okay. Are you able to tell what is in your mind by writing? Now you can write an entire story, and the purpose of writing is to create a picture of what you want to say in the mind of the reader or the examiner. Now, even if you are able, if the topic is given, uh, write about Taj Mahal, you write about Qutub Minar, it's okay. But replace the word Qutub Minar with Taj Mahal. Examiner, if he knows about Qutub Minar and Taj Mahal, you're gone. But if he doesn't know, then uh, your ability to communicate and describe something is what they are looking for. Okay, and you are supposed to write from your personal experience. The examiner is able to make out whether you're just writing it from for the sake of writing, or is it from your personal experience that you're writing it for. Yes, sir.
And yeah, your voice is not clear.
Yeah. Am I clear now, sir?
No, no, yours is okay, Salaka. Your voice is not.
Yes, yes. Hello.
Now it is okay.
Yeah, okay. So, hello.
Yes, yes, Shalaka.
Yes. Okay. So, I am Jason's student and I had been working on IELTS for past few months. What I think is that he has helped me a lot in IELTS. My scores earlier were very less, say around 4 or something, and now it has increased to say 6.5. So I feel happy about the fact that I'm able to increase the score and go ahead in IELTS. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Shalaka.
Thank you,
And
Jason.
Can you give some tips about speaking? How actually normally what exactly the examiner what they are looking for and what is their expectation? So if we already understand as a student, so it will be more. We will have the clarity, and we can any student can do or perform their best. Yesterday, I was
okay.
having a discussion with one of my students. So she told my speaking was not well because I think I am lagging somewhere. So can you give some tips on speaking?
Okay. See, if you have studied from English medium schools, then the major issue is lack of self-confidence in oneself. There is nothing major. If you are able to write in English, all right, then you should be able to speak in English also. But the thing is, we speak in our regional languages at home, and we have no exposure to speaking in English. But when we go to an exam, the problem is we feel that we won't be able to speak. If you're able to write and read, then you will definitely be able to speak. That's one confidence level, and that can be easily developed. Okay. Secondly, in speaking, what you need to know is the linking part, coherence and cohesion. It is, you are talking about a random subject which you don't know, and to link between one sentence and the other and forming a storyline, one story one after the other, talking about the next. Now, suppose take the example of hometown. Start with your hometown, the places there, how it is good. The common factor is the hometown. You're talking about hometown, so that commonality should be there in all the sentences that you speak. The conclusion should summarize everything, and if possible you can have a positive ending, but the main part is you should have a commonality in all the sentences that you speak. You should not be speaking about your hometown and suddenly you're talking about some other random topic in the universe. So suddenly you're talking about stars. It will not make sense. Okay, it's an extreme example, but my point here is, even if you're talking about stars, you can say, from my hometown, I can see my stars very clearly. When I go to other places, I'm not able to see that. It's a, that's how cohesion and coherence should be a part of your speaking skills. So confidence, cohesion, and coherence. Just these two parts you have to take care of.
How to increase the score of reading? there is a lot of difficulty actually in that for many students.
Okay. Now the problem with reading is people try to match what is given in the question with the sentences in the passage. You are trying to
Absolutely.
find out the exact sentence in the passage and the question. That's not how it is. If suppose you say Ram is a good boy. Okay. For example, it's given in the passage Ram is a good boy. Now in the question it will be given the boy was Ram. He went to the school. He obeyed everyone and he did what was needed for the family, so on and so forth, which describes that he is good. It won't be given that Ram is a good boy in the question itself. So the trying to match what is given in the question and trying to find the same thing in the passage is a wrong method. So you have to understand what is given in the passage, and for that your vocabulary should be good. Now instead of good, they say Ram is the best child of their parent, which means he was a good child. So good and best mean almost the same thing, but good will also not be given. Now in the question, if they say who is Ram, okay, Ram was the best boy. Let's take for example, Ram was the best boy. Say if it is true or false. Okay. In the passage it is given Ram is a good boy. You have to understand that good and best mean the same and therefore it is true. That's how it is. Okay, it won't be directly given. Yeah, I hope it was clear.
Yeah, and if the universities, when students are applying and there is no IELTS requirement while
Okay.
joining, suggested to still write the exam and keep it in hand, or what exactly
Yeah.
should be done?
See, I'm not that well versed with the admissions, but what I can say is if you give the exam and keep, suppose you don't get in the college where IELTS is not required, suppose you don't get it, but certain criterias are, fulfilling with the IELTS score, let's say from 6.5, it is 5.5, it won't be so less, but you are able to achieve 5.5, and the other criterias you are fulfilling. Okay. So these will help you, get into other colleges in universities abroad. So giving the IELTS is a very good option. Always try to give the IELTS and keep. When if you get or if IELTS is not required, it will come in handy at a later stage.
And definitely, as a university where the students are going for, it is a multicultural diversity, diverse students from different countries and background. So it becomes much more easier to interact with them and getting adjusted with them. So even if the
Hmm.
IELTS is exempted, that point of time, at least if IELTS is taken, it will give an edge uh, than other people, or it can say it will always give an edge actually.
Yeah.
And what books do you recommend for section wise uh, or for IELTS?
I wouldn't recommend any book. If you're able to get good vocabulary in your hand, that's more than enough. I mean, if you want to practice IELTS, there is umpty number of resources online. You can just go online because there is, I mean, you don't need to refer to any other resource. Okay? But if you want to, then I believe this one, Cambridge University brings out their Cambridge Press brings out their own textbooks, standardized textbooks for IELTS. You can always use that for practice. Yes, sir.
The IELTS exam evaluation is done individual section wise, or it's a complete evaluation of all the sections?
It is a complete evaluation of all the sections. So let's say the reading is out of 40 marks. It is grouped in from 1 to 10. The 40 marks is divided, not divided, it's compressed from 1 to 10. So you will get, suppose you get 6 in reading. Then listening again, it is out of 40 marks. So it is again compressed to 10 marks. So if you get 5, so an average of reading, speaking, writing, listening is taken together, and you come out with the final score of IELTS from 0 to 9. Suppose you get 555 in all the four, so your average score in IELTS is 5. So that's the final score in IELTS. Yes, sir.
Excuse me,
Yes.
what is IIT exam?
Okay. Hi, Veena. It's an exam where they test your English levels, how good you are with English. That is IELTS exam. It is international, international. I'll just tell you right now. International English Language Testing System. Okay, I was a bit confused. There are so many exams. So it is International English Language Testing System. Veena, you're happy? Yes, sir.
Anyone is having any other queries, I think, for how to increase the score of reading? So already been answered. Okay. For which countries IELTS, TOEFL, and PT works?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I improve my handwriting?
Okay. That is a different story altogether. You
Out
need to
of
practice a lot, Veena. You have to practice a lot. You have to write very slowly. You will definitely improve your handwriting. Okay. Yeah.
so
So
which countries
the countries,
accepts IELTS, TOEFL, and PT? Okay.
yeah,
So normally,
IELTS, yeah, please go on. Sir.
yeah, please, Jason, continue.
IELTS is basically accepted in European countries and the Australian continent. Okay. Uh, Even in Germany, people accept IELTS. I think Sheila is there, so she will also know. But European countries and the Australian continents, they accept IELTS. Now, TOEFL is accepted in the American continent. That is the standardized test in or the universities that accept IELTS, but it's not a hard and fast rule. Some countries in the US also accept IELTS. So it's basically, the logic goes like this: where the exam is developed, there IELTS is accepted more. Oh, sorry, the whichever exam is developed in which country, there that exam is accepted more. TOEFL is developed in the American continent, so TOEFL is accepted there. IELTS was first developed in the UK, so it is accepted in the United Kingdom or the European continent. Yes. PT was
No,
developed in, yeah. Tell me, sir.
continue.
No, no, you can go on, sir. No problem.
Yeah, normally nowadays, what now even while doing the research for the universities in US as well as Canada, they have started accepting IELTS as well, and there are few universities which are accepting PT. TOEFL, no doubt, in US and Canada is they are accepting. Along with that, they are accepting IELTS also, and few universities now they have started for the last couple of years the PT also. So IELTS is are those who are applying for European countries as well as US and Canada. keeping all the backup option. If they take IELTS, it is accepted across normally, leaving except few exceptions. Any other queries, guys? Anything you'd like to understand or you want to ask? You have any questions? You can ask now. However, I'm just recording the session, and those who have left or those who have joined little late, so they can visit the website of MSMT SOP, and they will be able to go through the entire video once again. But some of consultancies says you can go without IELTS. Is it real?
See, it depends on the colleges you are applying to. So if some colleges say that you don't require IELTS, then you don't need it. But some colleges, if they are good, they would want you to have an IELTS score, because if you are going there and see, it is also understood that the nowadays the English levels, see, previously the English levels, the exposure without internet, it was very less, the skill level was very less. But now people with internet and all this exposure have improved their English levels. While chatting also, your English levels improve, not that much, and your English is not that correct, but at least you're familiar with something. So since the general English level has increased and improved, they expect you to speak, at least communicate in English. But you have to, some colleges want it, some colleges don't want it. It depends on the colleges that you are going.
There is one question by Sakshi. I thought the answer is correct, but that was incorrect in reading.
Okay. What
Yeah.
was it? Sakshi, if you can ask me. Sakshi? Sakshi, can you type your question?
Some network issue by her.
I think Ravi sir, Nikhil, your question will be answered by Ravi sir. And Sakshi, your question, I thought the answer is correct, but the answer was incorrect in reading. So you are asking whether how to tackle this question. Is it, Sakshi? Some sort.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what was the question? Was it true or false, or was it match the following? Can you type and send, please?
Sorry, sir.
Can you type and send the question that you had? I mean, not the entire question. I think I can answer it. So what do you say? Should I answer it one-to-one, or it depends on the question that you're given? That's why.
Any question in reading?
Sakshi, your voice is not clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Sakshi, I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you. I think
there is some network issue at her side.
right.
So we will Yeah. So Sakshi, you can connect with us. Anyway, I have mentioned the number as well as email ID, and we can resolve your queries later on. Right now, anything very quick. We are about to end the session now. So Conroy is online now. Jason,
Conroy, you're there?
go on.
I think he's not
Okay,
there.
sir.
I think he's not there, sir. He has to go for work, so he's not there.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Yeah, so guys, you can connect with us for any queries or any details you want to understand. This is Nikhil. This is one-time session webinar just to get people or student to get the clarity what exactly the challenges each and everyone facing, because right now is the high time to take the IELTS exam, and many students are attending, so it's always preparation is better than just facing directly in the exam hall, right? So that is what we thought of conducting this session and uh, clearing your doubts so that it can become much more easier, and it can give add value to your whatever the understanding you have, right? So yeah, and anything else you'd like to add, Jason, or anything you want to say? We are about to
Uh,
end.
uh, I mean, you can always approach Ravi sir and team MSMBA, SOP.com, and we will definitely help you out with whatever queries you have. And I hope to see you on the other side soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys. Happy Sunday.
Thank you.